Apparently, a guy from Lucasfilm was saying that at one point, the plan was to have Boba Fett be the main villain in Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, that was insane.
So, like, I've been reading the making of Empire Strikes Back by J.W. Rinsler. There's a series of books. This dude basically made history books of Star Wars, and they're incredible. I highly recommend everyone check them out. And they go just super deep. They go about like early scripts and all over the concept art and everything. And the first Star Wars was interesting because they were making, like, Lucas was like, oh, I got an idea for wizards in space, and it's sort of Kurosawa based. And everyone's like,
is he here?
Yeah.
Is that you, George?
It's me. Yeah. I channeled George Lucas. But no, like he spent forever making, better part of a decade getting Star Wars ready. Yeah. And then when Star Wars was out and it was a hit, they were like, all right, let's do another one. And then Empire kind of like came together much more quickly. So it's a different creative process. But at one point, Lucas was like, oh yeah, it's going to be part of a 12, there are going to be 12 movies. And then he's like, no, there's going to be 9. And there's like, no, there's always going to be 6. And he kind of like, he jumps around. But what this article was saying is basically that the idea was going to be Return of the Jedi was sort of the end of like one story arc, but that like a whole movie was effectively going to be set in Jabba's palace, I guess, and that like Boba Fett would be like the main villain.
I mean, what it seemed like was that there was an idea for a trilogy of movies that ended up getting truncated into Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
And that stuff like the Battle of Endor and the Emperor and Jabba's palace would be stretched out into like single movies by themselves, which is super fascinating. It sort of makes sense when you think of how quickly and like swept under the table Boba Fett is.
Yeah, it's kind of bizarre because what I've understood, and like I've tracked Boba Fett a great deal.
Yeah, that's him.
I carry this large toy with me most places. I have like a baby carrier. I go to the store.
Yeah.
Do you have Mandalorian formula for my son?
Don't talk to me or my
This
child.
is my son, Robert Fett.
Yeah.
Bobby. But no, like I remember just reading that at one point they spent ages designing Fett and like getting like the costume ready, and it was just this huge collaborative process. And like there's probably more art direction and more kind of prop work on Boba Fett alone than most other elements.
Yeah, most other characters in the trilogy.
Yeah, and also like the fact you see him with the bounty hunters initially, early concept art lists all the bounty hunters as Boba Fett's gang, which makes you think that like if they weren't like competing bounty hunters, it'd be kind of cool to have like Boba Fett like leading this posse
of Toilet Mummy and Robo Boy
exactly.
and Weird Ant-Man. Yeah.
Yeah. Also, Zuckuss' original name was Tuckus.
No, it wasn't.
Which is Yiddish
it was
for
not.
bottom.
It was
not.
Someday
we'll do like the 5 most offensive Star Wars words. You know.
I mean, Zuckuss does sound like something like my mom would make me wash my mouth out with soap if I sat at the dinner table.
Yeah. But yeah, so I mean, basically, was Boba Fett going to be the villain of Return of the Jedi? I mean, maybe at some point. I mean, at one point Han Solo was going to die. Like, there's all these kind of things that almost happen with Star Wars, but it seems like a pretty good headline to have on May the 4th when everyone's talking about Star Wars.
Yeah.
That said, like, I really hope that Disney does something with Boba Fett, and I mean, we're probably going to get a solo movie about it.
Yeah, so that's, I imagine the 2018 movie, all the rumors are pointing that is the Boba Fett movie in between 8 and 9, and just even going back to the Respawn game, like, I can imagine that being a Boba Fett game if they want to tie it in with that. Like, if you imagine the Titanfall mechanics with what Boba Fett has. Like
hot damn, yeah. That'd be great.
Cool.
Jetpacking up onto some ATSTs and dropping thermal detonators in their hatches.
Is that a sex thing?
Not yet, it's not, but it soon will be.